We live in a time where the Bible is the bestseller of all times, and it's been translated in more than 2,000 languages. We have the Bible on our tablets, on our phones, and in various other formats. And it's quite easy sometimes to assume that the Bible has always been this easily accessible since it was first written. However, before and during the Dark Ages, this wasn't the case. The ordinary man and woman like you and I had no access to the Bible. It was only available in the Latin and Greek languages, which could only be read and understood by the clergy. Therefore, there was a need for the Bible to be translated into the language of the common man. And it was with this background that the Reformation occurred. Shortly, we're going to be listening to a sermon about the Reformation. And the sermon covers the historical context in which the Reformation occurred, and also the fruit or benefit of the Reformation. The historical context, because it's good for us to understand some of the issues and challenges that the Reformers were taking a stand against. It's also important for us to understand that history has a tendency of repeating itself, and a lot of these errors and issues that we're talking about here are arising even in our time and in our generation. You may be wondering, why should this bother me right now? Well, my prayer is that as we listen to this sermon, we would catch something of the spirit behind the Reformation, that we would be encouraged to go back to the scriptures and check everything against the Bible, because the Word of God is still alive, and we have an obligation to bring the light and truth of the Word of God in this life and in our generation, and we can only do so when we take time to read our Bibles. This sermon is not intended to be a theological defense of the beliefs and views of the few reformers that we're going to be highlighting. Indeed, these reformers, like all of us, they are not infallible. Indeed, the sermon is also not meant to be a critique of the practices of the Roman Catholic Church as of today. It's only a reference of some of the historical things that were happening at the time of the Reformation. My prayer is that as you listen, God would plant in your heart, as He does in mine, the desire and the hunger to go back to the Word of God and check everything against the Word of God, and to not take our precious Bibles for granted, that we would read them, that we would make sure that we have a hunger and a thirsting for the Word of God. God bless you as you listen to this sermon.